Section 1.8, Perimeter, Circumference, and Area. The perimeter of a square is found by taking 4 times the side length. Since all the sides are the same, we just multiply the single side length by 4 to find the perimeter. And remember, perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape. To find the area of a square, you're going to take base times height or length times width. But since the sides are the same, we say the area of a square is found taking side squared. The area of a triangle, or the perimeter of a triangle in this case, is found by adding up the length of all of the sides, A, B, and C. To find the area of a triangle, we take 1/2 base times height. And so your height is always a perpendicular measurement to its base. So 1/2 base times height is the area of a triangle. Rectangle. To find the perimeter of a rectangle, you'll take 2 times the base plus 2 times the height, or 2 times base plus height, or you can merely just add up all the sides. To find the area of a rectangle, you take base times height. And then to find the circumference of a circle, which is the distance around the outside of it, you're going to take pi times diameter, or you take 2 pi times the radius. And remember, the radius is half the diameter. And then to find the area of a circle, it's just pi r squared, or pi times the radius squared. We want to find the perimeter and area of each figure. So in the first one, we're dealing with a square. So the perimeter here is going to be 4 times the side length. Well, in this case, our side length is 16. So we're dealing with 4 times 16, which equals 64 millimeters. And then to find the area of a square is just side squared. So we're dealing with 16 squared, which in this case becomes 256 millimeters squared. And so our units are squared because we're finding area there. Question 2, we're dealing with a rectangle. To find the perimeter, we're going to take 2 times the base plus 2 times the height. So in this case, I've got 2 times 5 plus 2 times 2.5, which is going to give us a perimeter of 15 miles. Then to find the area, we take base times height, which in this case is going to be 5 times 2.5, which gives us an area of 12.5 miles squared. Here we want to find the area and the circumference of each figure. We're dealing with circles this time. In the first one, the 9 is our radius. So to find our circumference, which is like perimeter for circles, we're going to take 2 pi r. So with a circle, we have options. We can leave this in terms of pi, or we can multiply it out. More often than not, it's easiest to leave in terms of pi. So that means I'm just going to multiply the 2 times the 9, and then tack on the pi symbol. Well, 2 times 9 is 18, so our circumference is 18 pi. 18 pi feet. There we go. Then the area for a circle equals pi times our radius squared. Well, our radius is 9, so we've got pi times 9 squared, which gives us an area of 81 pi feet squared. For the other circle, I have a diameter of 8, which means my radius is 4. So let's find the circumference using the diameter. Well, that's going to be pi times diameter, which in this case is 8 pi centimeters. So that's pretty easy. Then the area, once again, is pi r squared, which is going to be pi times 4 squared, which gives us 16 pi centimeters squared. And if you want to multiply these out, you can. So for the circumference, instead of 8 pi, you would have gotten 25.1 centimeters. And then for the area, I believe it to be 50.24 centimeters squared. Just personal preference. Leaving pi in your answer is actually the more accurate answer because pi is a non-repeating, never-ending decimal. So if you can leave the symbol there, it makes it more accurate. All right, here we want to find the area and the perimeter / circumference of each. So for the first one, we have a rectangle with a base of 3 and a height of 8. Well, area we know is base times height for a rectangle. So that's 3 times 8, which gives us an area of, oh, just realized a mistake here. We don't want to take the values we have there. It's 3 feet and 8 inches. So actually we need to convert units. So let's put everything in terms of inches. So 3 feet becomes 36 inches. Now that we have matching units, we can go ahead and solve this. So the area, once again, is still base times height, but now we have the right values. So we're going to take 36 times 8, which gives us an area of 288 inches squared. Then the perimeter, well, perimeter is 2 times base plus 2 times height. Well, that's 2 times 36 plus 2 times 8. So when added together, we get a perimeter of 88 inches. In question 2, we're looking for the area and circumference of a circle with a diameter of 16. And then we're going to take and find the area. So we'll find the area first this time. So it's pi times radius squared, which is pi times 8 squared. So that gives us an area of 64 pi millimeters squared. This time when we find circumference, we're going to use the diameter. So pi times diameter. And that means we're going to get 16 pi millimeters is our circumference. All right, so we want to find the perimeter of triangle EFG here. So for the vertical and horizontal measurements, we can just count the units from side to side. For the diagonal one, we're probably going to have to use either the Pythagorean theorem or the distance formula. So in this case, from E to F, we have a distance of, well, we're going from 6 to -2, so that's 8. And then from G to F, we have a distance of 6. And then we need to find the length of essentially the long side or the hypotenuse here in order to be able to find the perimeter. All right, so we know EF is 8, GF is 6, and then to find EG, we'll use the distance formula. So, or instead of the distance formula, we could just use the Pythagorean theorem in this case. So if you don't remember the Pythagorean theorem, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's just as quick. So let's go ahead and use that. And so for this, I'm going to have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals our c squared, or our EG in this case, 36 plus 64. So that's 100 equals c squared. So that long side is equal to 10 after we square root both sides. So EG is 10. So now to find the perimeter, we just add them all up. So we've got 8 plus 6 plus 10, which gives us a perimeter of 24 units. If we wanted to, we can also find the area, and then find the area, that's pretty straightforward. We use the two perpendicular measurements. So it'd be 1/2 our base of 6 times our height of 8. So 6 times 8 is 48 times 1/2 gives us 24 units squared in this case. Now we're going to talk about working backwards. So if the perimeter of a square is 144 inches, what is its area? So remember, to find the perimeter of a square, it's 4 times your side length. So we're going to plug in this for perimeter, since we know that. So we've got 144 equals 4 times s. We'll then divide by 4. And we get each side of the square is 36. So to find the area, remember, area of a square is side squared. So in this case, we've got 36 squared, which gives us an area equal to 1,296 inches squared. The area addition postulate. The area of a region is the sum of the area of its non-overlapping parts. So to find the area of an irregular shape, you can merely break it down into easier shapes and then add up all the areas of that shape that make up that shape to find the total area. So for this first shape here, I'm going to break this apart into 2 separate rectangles. I've got the top one here, and the area for that, let's say this is A1, is just base times height. So that'd be 6 times 4, which is 24 centimeters squared. Then the bottom rectangle, I'm going to call A2. Well, I know the height of A2, but I need to figure out what this base piece is right here. Well, if the whole length of the top is 6 and there's 2 missing from the side here, that means that this piece here is 4. So let's find the area of A2. Well, that would be 4 times 3, which is 12 centimeters squared. So the last thing I need to do is add these together to find the total area. In this case, I get a total area of 36 centimeters squared. Alright, now we want to find the area of this irregular shape. We've got essentially just a basic rectangle here. So I'm going to call this A1. Finding the area of that should be pretty straightforward. It's just base times height. So we've got 19 times 12, which is going to give us 228 feet. And then the shape here is a half circle, so we have to find the area of half a circle. And this circle has a radius of 6, since we can cut this length in half. So let's call this A2. So the area of A2, well, or to find the area of that circle, would normally be pi r squared. But we only have half a circle, so we'll multiply that by 1/2. So we'll set this up. We've got 1/2 pi times 6 squared. Well, 6 squared is 36. Half of 36 is 18. So we've got 18 pi, which when you multiply this out gives us right around 56.5 feet squared. And so the last thing we need to do is add the two measurements together. So we're going to take 228 feet squared plus 56.5 feet squared. And when we add those together, we get a total area equal to 284.5 feet squared.